Welcome back, Irish fans. Breaking on Brey's Boys podcast. Obviously, this one is not going to be as exciting as the Bama or Rutgers postgame show, but certainly one that's necessary. Tough loss for Notre Dame against a really good Texas Tech team, a team that is ranked number one in defensive efficiency by Bart Torvik, and really made Notre Dame relying on the three ball for a lot of that game. Let me check the stats. 28 threes attempted by Notre Dame out of 52 total shots, and a lot of those weren't good looks. And the ones that were good looks, it kind of seemed like Notre Dame was seeing shadows there just because of Texas Tech's length on the perimeter. Really made it tough on them all night, and got to credit Notre Dame. They really fought tonight. This was maybe the most intensity I've seen them with all year. Texas Tech played really hard, and Notre Dame seemed to take that personally in a good way. They really fought Texas Tech tonight, and really good effort by both teams. Really good college basketball game, although Notre Dame didn't come out on top. Notre Dame, you could tell, wanted this one really badly and just couldn't close. So tough loss for Notre Dame. That's going to do it for the season for Notre Dame. Simple as it sounds, the shooting is probably the biggest issue for Notre Dame tonight, and it hasn't been all year. 9 for 28 from three. Typically isn't going to cut it, 32% against a team like this, a 3 seed. Obviously, that is heavily Texas Tech induced. But, man, Notre Dame didn't hit enough shots tonight. We're too reliant on the three offensively. But generally, this was kind of just death by 1,000 cuts for Notre Dame. Missed three here, would have put them up. Missed a layup there, a few late turnovers, and a few Texas Tech offensive rebounds kind of put this one out of reach for a Notre Dame team that was in this game for most of it. And little things kind of killed Notre Dame, and some big things throughout the evening made things tough for Notre Dame to win it. But typically when you shoot 23% from the field in the first half and 31% from three, 32% from three throughout the entire game, it's hard to beat a 3 seed. And Notre Dame fought their tail off defensively. The matchup was okay for them, but Texas Tech certainly had some size on them. Notre Dame fought it, though, and they played them tough, just couldn't get enough stops. And I think the bigger issue is they couldn't get enough scores to win this one. And Texas Tech does that to a lot of teams. I think if you watch a post-game show from a Texas Tech opponent that lost, a lot of it's going to be talking about Texas Tech's defense and Notre Dame's offense. So this isn't atypical of them. It's a little atypical of Notre Dame. Didn't take care of the ball all that well tonight. 11 turnovers against Texas Tech isn't all that bad, but that's around Notre Dame's season average. And it's really hard to beat Texas Tech when you turn it over the way they did, especially when you're not hitting shots. And Notre Dame had a tough time tonight in general. Blake Wesley had those 2 great drives to put Notre Dame up, and then threw it away once and got blocked another time, which gave Texas Tech the ball. And it's kind of a summary of the night. 1 step forward, 2 steps backward offensively for Notre Dame. You thought they were finally going to get it going, and then Mark Adams made an adjustment and threw Notre Dame off, or Texas Tech just upped the intensity a little bit, and it's what they do. They're number one defensively for a reason, made Notre Dame rely on the three, forced turnovers, forced them into bad shots, and cut off the driving lanes, which I don't think Notre Dame is really used to. The only team they've seen that from this year is Virginia, who plays that pack line. Texas Tech's defense a little bit different with a no middle, but Virginia is a comparable defense just because of the way they make it so hard to get to the rim, the help side defense. And the hedging on the screens is unique to Virginia as compared to Texas Tech, but Texas Tech switched everything, and generally you'd think that'd be good for Notre Dame because they have 4 guards on the floor at all times. But even Bryson Williams, who was the target of most switches that Notre Dame attacked, especially with Blake Wesley, he's as athletic and as mobile as maybe anyone Notre Dame has in the front court. So Texas Tech's just a tough team. They really challenged Notre Dame defensively, and Notre Dame couldn't quite hit enough shots to win this one. A lot of unpacking to do at the end of this season. Mike Brey is likely going to stay. He was rumored to be in the mix for Maryland for a little bit, but it seems like he'll be at Notre Dame. So that's one less thing to unpack. But in terms of the players, we don't really know if any of Notre Dame's players are going to be back. Dane Goodwin has said publicly that he wants to come back. That was over a year ago, though. I guess he would probably be back, but things change in a year, especially since COVID. But Cormac Ryan, I guess would come back. Trey Wertz, I'd say he could come back. He could transfer. It's kind of hard to get a read on that. I'd kind of lean transfer. Nate Laszewski is almost a 50-50 to me. Paul Atkinson, his eligibility's up, but Notre Dame's trying to get a waiver for him. Prentiss Hubb, maybe he doesn't come back. This could have been Prentiss Hubb's final game at Notre Dame, and it's really weird to think about considering all we've watched this group go through together, that this could be their last game together, but it also could be the start of something incredible. Blake Wesley could come back, and if tonight was any indication, he'd probably be helped by coming back. I'll talk about him and everybody else individually a little more from this game, but they're going to have Blake, potentially. J.J. Starling is going to be there. And if they can get Dane back and they can get the Cormac Ryan that we had throughout late February through now, Notre Dame's in a really good spot. And Cormac Ryan is the guy that teams had a game plan for. Texas Tech game plan for Cormac Ryan and try to take him out of this one a little bit. And if you have Blake Wesley, Dane Goodwin, J.J. Starling, maybe even Prentiss Hubb surrounding him in a year, that is certainly scary. And Notre Dame is going to have to address the front court a little bit. I'm sure I'll be putting out a lot of videos over the next few weeks as decisions come out, but a lot of shuffling that is going to happen in the next few weeks. Notre Dame's going to hit the portal. Recruiting season is going to ramp back up, and a lot of Notre Dame guys have decisions to make. So a lot to unpack, and kind of opens the floodgates to a lot of news that will be happening soon. Maybe even a few tonight in the Brey presser. Maybe he'll give out one or two. I hope not tonight because I'm filming during the Brey presser. But kind of getting into individual players from this game, Prentiss Hubb, I thought did an okay job navigating Texas Tech's defense, had only 2 turnovers. Certainly didn't shoot it very well. 2 for 7 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. And he really didn't step up the way I thought he would in terms of scoring through March Madness. But the composure we saw from him and the playmaking ability, although he only had 3 assists tonight, Notre Dame had 8 assists total. Prentiss Hubb had 3 of them. I don't know that I think Prentiss Hubb has really taken a step, and a step that maybe I didn't even expect him to take in terms of just his playmaking and his decision-making. I think it's got a lot better even within the last year. So credit to P. Hubb for that if this is his last game. I think he really improved in some aspects. It just kind of sucks that the shooting didn't come along like he had hoped it would this year. Shot 25% throughout the tournament, and that's not great from your starting point guard by any stretch. Blake Wesley, tonight, I thought he showed why he can play at the next level and why he may need another year. He was the main guy who'd get in the lane for Notre Dame tonight. Their defense was great at cutting off drivers and keeping guys out of the lane, and Blake Wesley still was able to, but when he got there, things didn't go quite as well. Shot 3 for 15 from the field and didn't hit a 3. So against a team like Texas Tech, you're going to need guys to hit threes, and Blake couldn't do that tonight. The 2 late turnovers were huge, but yeah, I mean, he kind of showed why he can be so special and why he already is pretty special. And then he showed why he may need another year. And he showed that throughout the entire tournament, especially the Alabama game where he's forcing a little bit early, wasn't playing all that well, and then really just took over in that second half when the lane was open and found ways to make plays against athletic guys as he drove downhill. But Blake's got a really interesting decision to make. If I had to guess, he would probably be like a late first-round pick, which is you're set for life essentially if you play a few years as a late first-round pick. But if he comes back, he could fit that Jaden Ivey mold of, hey, you can go from a late first-round pick, improve a few things. And I'll talk about this more when Blake actually makes his decision, publicly at least. But you can follow the blueprint of a Jaden Ivey who has really the same things that Ivey improved on. Blake has to improve on decision-making, three-point shooting, especially off the bounce, or off the catch more so. And then just a few other small things, decision-making and three-point shooting being the main 2. But Blake is a guy who has maybe the most important and the most interesting decision to make. So all eyes will be on him and all the other all the seniors throughout the next few weeks. Cormac Ryan wasn't quite as good today. I thought he really fought down low, had how many rebounds? Cormac had 4 rebounds, which isn't all that great, 9 points. But if you watched the way they were covering Cormac Ryan, you would have thought he was Notre Dame's best player all year. They seem to put somewhat of an emphasis, at least, on shutting down Cormac Ryan, and it's really all you can ask for from a guy like Cormac at this stage. Like 2 months ago, you never would have thought that a team would be concerned about him in an NCAA tournament game, but they were today. He brought a ton of intensity throughout this tournament, and maybe was their best player throughout it, even despite the 9-point performance today. He missed a big free throw, but I didn't think Cormac could do all that much tonight. The length kind of bothered him, but still love what he brought throughout this tournament. And if he comes back next year, huge addition. Same with Dane Goodwin. Dane actually got downhill a little bit, which I was surprised by, especially against this defense. Was 5 for 8 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 14 points. Notre Dame finally made it an emphasis to get him involved late. Was running him off some flare screens, just some regular screens, and he's finally able to get going a little bit. They're finally intentional about getting him going. 14 and 8 from Dane Goodwin, I'll take, especially when he's fighting his tail off defensively. O'Banner was a tough matchup for him when he was on him, and so same with Cormac Ryan. But Dane, I thought this was his best game of the tournament, and obviously he was Notre Dame's leading scorer, so something had to go right for him. Hit some shots, was pretty efficient today, and if he comes back next year again with Cormac, Blake, and JJ, that is a really scary backcourt, especially if a guy like Hubb or Wertz comes back to kind of be an addition to it. So lots of excitement about Dane Goodwin's future if he does decide to return. But Paul Atkinson may or may not return. Tonight I thought was a weird game for him. Notre Dame had that huge scoring drought in the first half, had a little one late, and Atkinson has been their bailout guy all year with his post touches. He's been the safety blanket. Tonight he didn't really get the one-on-one touches down there that we were hoping for. He couldn't really get going, and they just made it really difficult on him. Had 5 points, had a more athletic big on him, although he didn't have the size of some of the bigs they've seen. Atkinson was 3 for 4 from the line, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, 5 points, and it's hard to win with the stat line from that like that from Atkinson. He did an okay job kicking it out of the post and kind of starting the chain of events. Only had 1 turnover, but man, I'm not really blaming all that much on Atkinson. I think they kind of schemed against him being the bailout guy, but it's really hard for Notre Dame's offense to get flowing when Atkinson can't be their bailout guy, and we saw that tonight. That's why he was so important to this team all year, and I think they would have been a lot better offensively if he could have bailed them out of that run there, and if Atkinson could have gotten to double figures, it's a completely different game. But he was okay tonight and had a great year. He was exactly what they thought he was going to be, it feels like. And if that's it for his Notre Dame career, it was a heck of a career, and he's certainly going to be hard to replace. I would like to see them get a different type of big if Atkinson doesn't return, a more athletic one who can really wreak havoc down there. Atkinson was a crafty guy who did his best on the boards, did his best defensively, but didn't quite have the frame to be elite in either of those areas. But he's been their safety blanket all year and a guy that's been really important to this team's success, and it seems like he's exactly what Notre Dame has wanted him to be. So credit to Paul Atkinson for this year. It was just tough for him tonight. Nate Laszewski had a tough night as well. 3 points, 1 for 5 from 3, and didn't attempt a 2-point field goal, had 5 rebounds. He played his tail off down low too on defense. I thought Atkinson for a period was a little bit better on Williams than even Laszewski was. And it was tough for Notre Dame to play with 2 bigs tonight, which I think would have helped them defensively just because of the offense. The offense was so stagnant with 2 bigs on the floor that it made it tough for them to do that. He only had 3 points, though, and running the 5 in that 5 out was tough for him. And great season for Nate. Certainly wasn't the statistical season or anything that he had last year, but turned himself into a really solid role player to complement these guards and improved defensively, improved on the glass. We didn't necessarily see that tonight, but I thought he was good. And Trey Wertz, well, I don't know that I thought he was good. I was just kind of saying that. But Trey Wertz, I thought, actually gave them good minutes tonight, and he hasn't done that in a few games. I thought the matchup was a little bit better for him tonight just because Texas Tech didn't have crazy athleticism in the backcourt. It's been a few games since they've got good minutes from him. Wertz even I thought was okay defensively, even though he hasn't been an awesome defender this year. Couldn't ask for much more from Trey Wertz. Maybe he hits a few more shots and this game's different. But the big issues tonight were obviously the three-point shooting. Notre Dame was one-dimensional offensively. And death by 1,000 cuts. Some missed free throws, some turnovers, some missed threes, some big rebounds that Texas Tech got. Kind of ended this one and ended Notre Dame's season, unfortunately for them. But it's going to really do it for this game. A lot to unpack in the next few weeks, and I'd appreciate if you guys would subscribe to hear some thoughts on all these guys' futures and what their careers meant if they don't end up coming back to Notre Dame. But I'll have some more videos out, probably one for each individual decision of the 7 rotation guys, unless Atkinson doesn't have a decision to make. But appreciate you guys watching all year. Admittedly, have to get better with dealing with negativity a little bit, but all the love a lot of you guys showed throughout the year helped with that a lot, and I really appreciate everybody tuning in this year to all the post games. I feel like we got a good thing going here. Pretty consistent viewership throughout the season, and had a lot of fun this year covering this team. It's a really fun year and a successful year for Notre Dame. They surpassed my expectations from them in the preseason, finished second in the league, although they didn't win a game in the ACC tournament, finished second in the league, won one March Madness game and a first 4 game, made the tournament, which was their goal in the start of the season. Blake Wesley was better than we thought, and I thought he was going to be really good. Cormac Ryan really turned it on late. Dane Goodwin took a huge leap. Paul Atkinson was exactly what we thought he would be, and Nate Laszewski didn't necessarily fade either. He was just kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit. I thought he was just as good as he was last year. He just wasn't relied upon as heavily. And Prentiss Hubb's decision-making improved. Trey Wertz gave him some good minutes throughout the year. It's all-around solid, successful season for Notre Dame. And I'm not sure any Notre Dame fan is mad about this, considering where they were in December. The fact that Notre Dame was a few possessions away from going to the second weekend after that BC loss says something about this group. And if they come back next year with Van Lubin, Dom Campbell, J.J. Starling, another year of JR, maybe one of Zona or Taylor contributes, maybe Tony Sanders can find a way to make the rotation. Notre Dame's future seems to be bright, and I hope next year I'll be covering a March Madness game again. It was a blessing to cover these games. Games I've seen Notre Dame play in as a kid, seeing guys like Rex Pfluger make that play to win a March Madness game. That would have been like 10, 11-year-old me was out of my mind when that happened. And to be able to be at least a small part of the madness and another Notre Dame mini run was very special to me, and I appreciate all the support throughout it. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching all season, and I'm sure I'll have some more videos out in a few days on kind of how the season went and some of these guys' decisions over the next few days. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all the support again, and I will see you soon.